do. Now we're live. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Crossing the Streams. We're crossing the streams.
Nice.
Boom, 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 boom.
Nice. Hey, everybody.
Just wrote that. The what's up, everybody? Oh, we should.
What up?
Should we jump right into the theme song?
Theme
Just the
song.
three- we got,
Hello to all
the
my
three of it.
homies.
All right, here we go. Ready? Ron, kick us off.
I'll kick us off. Here's the story of some lonely fellows who spend way too much time watching the TV. All of them have jobs and friends. Well, not really. Just between you and me.
Sal.
Oh, now you choose me. All right. They made a live show out of their hobby. Every TV watcher's TV watching Dream. Jeff and Ron and Sal and Bob and sometimes Marcy. They call it Crossing Streams.
And then one day they went live on all the platforms. You can hear the people laugh, shout, and scream. Still can't find another word that rhymes with platform. But man, we cross the streams.
We cross the streams. We cross the streams.
That's the
That's the way we do it.
Here we cross the streams. What's up? All right.
Very well done.
That was amazing. One of our best yet. What's up, everybody?
Hello.
Ron Lippett.
Hello.
Ron Lippett. We got to talk about Ron Lippett was one of the 100,000 people stuck in a flood at Running Man.
Burning Man.
Burning Man. Oh, that's why I couldn't find it.
I tried to run, but I was stuck in the mud. This is the problem.
So, Ron, here's a photo. That's you with bunny ears.
Look at that.
Yeah. Let me tell you about that photo.
You got to tell what is Burning
so
Man?
So first off, bring if you don't mind, Jeff, bring back that photo if you don't mind. So let me explain. Let me tell you first what Burning Man is not. Burning Man is not a music festival. It's not a social gathering, a festival that you might think of in terms like Coachella or any of that kind of stuff, Lollapalooza and this kind of stuff. Though there is DJ music and all that kind of stuff. You can think of Burning Man as an experiment in culture, in the sense that there are 75,000 totally creative people that come together in a gifting economy. There's no money. You are only brought into the desert with the things that you have, that you live on, that you can choose to give or not give to other folks there. But in the meantime, all it is about is to see the possibility when you have an empowered creative environment like that, about how crazy and amazing it can get together, and without it, going in any way like creating any crimes or anything like that. Hopefully, so it is a very positive place, and people do a lot of really interesting, cool things. Yes, it's true. There's drugs and sex and all that stuff, but truthfully, for folks like me, there's two Burning Mans. There's a Burning Man from the morning you wake up until maybe 1 in the morning, and then people like me go to bed, and the young folks who want to dance all night and do their Molly and pot and whatever else, they're up all night. So they are up all night and sleep all morning and into the afternoon. So this is what you see there. This picture here, I just want to show you guys. This is me at the Billion Bunny March. And that is to say that they had thousands of people dressed as rabbits. And they were going to protest how rabbits have been poorly treated by the humans who have owned them for these many generations. So hilarious. I mean, obviously not serious, but it's a hilarious example of just the stupidity and creativity and humor of Burning Man. And so what you're not seeing in this picture is there are thousands of people in bunny ears. And it's a pretty funny thing. And that's just like one example. They do all kinds of crazy things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was Hugh Hefner at the bunny one?
No, but I will tell you. So you may have read this in the paper, guys. It is super popular with the tech billionaires out of California, Seattle, Portland, and it's a cultural experiment. So for companies that try and live on culture, and try and drive outcomes for their companies that are unique and have kind of a unique experience to them in working for these amazing companies, they come to Burning Man to learn about business culture and to learn about how a new approach to in the way to facilitate culture can be achieved creatively. And so I know it sounds like it's just a lot of fun and craziness, but there is a legitimate side to this about what's possible when you throw away what society requires of you, and that you can just kind of create your own rules as long as it's legal. No, nothing illegal, but as long as it's legal, you can create your own rules about what society expects of you. And I think that's part of the experiment of Burning Man. It's this empowered, encouraged creativity with no bounds. There's no rules to what you can create. It's why when you go to Burning Man, there are literally hundreds of art installations just out there in the middle of the desert. And if you have a bike or a scooter or something, you can spend days out in the desert just finding these incredible art installations. And for people like myself that just love creativity and art, that's half my interest in Burning Man, is just going to see just how messed up this stuff can get and how amazingly cool and creative these people can be, in the Nevada desert. So it's
cool,
a
man.
really interesting place, and I'm really passionate about. Anybody who's watching or listening right now, if you have interest in Burning Man, give me a call. Send me a note. I'll tell you all about it. This was my second burn. It was supposed to be my fourth burn, but our friends at the CDC and COVID took care of the last two burns. So this was only my second burn, and I'm looking forward to going again.
Do you buy a ticket? Like, how do you
Yeah.
get it?
Yeah, tickets are expensive. It's part of the criticism of Burning Man. It used to be extremely affordable, and because it was so affordable, that attracted some of these, creative folks that perhaps didn't have a lot of money. Nowadays, it's become a lot more expensive. Tickets, as an example, this year were, I believe, $550 before the ticket fees, and so it was like $640, I think it was, after all the fees and taxes and everything like that. And that's just getting your ticket. That's before preparing for Burning Man. Like, you got to get there, you got to be supplied, you've got to, have your all of the things that you're going to need to survive out there, which is crazy. It gets really cold in the mornings and really hot. Theoretically, no one. It's funny, we talk about this, that we all plan for hot and cold because that's normal for Burning Man. You plan for 100-degree days and you plan for 40-degree nights, but none of us plan for 15 inches of water like that.
Wow.
Like we didn't have any preparations for that. So the emergency that happened this year was actually quite a serious one, because we didn't have any materials there to support a flood.
Wow.
So it did. I will admit, for a half a second there, it did get a little scary. When they told us to, hey, start conserving food and water and, shelter in place, and we'll get to you, as soon as we can get to you. This is, the Bureau of Land Management and the federal government. It was a little frightening, but they figured it out, and we got out of there, albeit 36 hours later than I expected. But it was all we got, took it in stride, took it with sense of humor, and I think everyone had a good time.
Cool. Very cool, man.
So what do you eat? Like, what food is there?
There's a corn dog stand everywhere.
Actually,
They charge
Sally,
$4
there
for
is.
that.
So I swear, I'm not kidding. There are corn dog stands. So like I said, it's a gifting economy. So everything is free, right? So you bring your own stuff. For me, I enjoy.
For $650, you better get something.
Yeah, well, so for me, I bring
popcorn.
pre-made meals. The hiking, freeze-dried meals, which are actually, I'll just say on a side note, are surprisingly really good. Like the beef stroganoff and the rice and chicken and these dishes, like they're actually quite good. You heat up water and that's what you expect to live on. But once you get to Burning Man, you realize at least half your meals are gifted to you. And like I went twice to a place called the Flying Falafel, and I was being thrown falafel sandwiches. And like, I think I had grilled cheese at this one place called Moon Cheese, like at least 2 or 3 times. I got served blintzes. I got served all kinds of different sandwiches and coffees. And I don't happen to drink, but if I did drink, I can tell you, you never have to pay for a drink at Burning Man. You can go anywhere and be served all manner of interesting and fun alcohol. So it's, It is truly free once you're in Burning Man.
But
You
who's
gotta do
paying
it.
for that?
It's part of the gifting economy. They come prepared to gift. So these camps, Burning Man is made up of all these individual camps of people. My camp, Videogasm, is the movie theater of
Hey,
Burning
hey,
Man.
hey! This is a family show.
So my camp, Videogasm, is the movie theater of Burning Man. So people come to this camp to watch movies all day and night. There's a couple of big events for our camp. We're 36 people, and we come prepared with gifts to give to tons and tons of people when they come to our camp. And it's like just like that for every camp.
So did you guys all prepare together before going?
Yeah. We all in the months leading up to Burning Man, you have just endless meetings with your camp, just getting prepared
And
for.
then how do you get your camp together? Like,
So in our case, we're a Detroit and Philadelphia based camp. So we have a giant U-Haul truck, the biggest one they rent, that starts from Philadelphia. Everyone puts their stuff in there. We have to pay a separate fee for payment for the shipping of our stuff on the truck. So that's on top of as I said, the $640 or whatever it was. And that's shipped from Philadelphia to Detroit all the way to Reno and then to Black Rock City, which is 100 miles north of Reno, Nevada, in the Black Rock Desert.
wow.
So yeah, it's pretty
So
crazy.
what did you give?
And
What
here's
did you
the other
gift?
thing.
What did you give people while they were watching? I assume
So
the
for
Barbie
me,
movie.
like Videogasm gave out, we had an open bar every single night, and we had other kinds of like if you look here, like I have this with me, but like these are all like examples of things that were given to me. Like things like handmade chains and stickers and but then you get other things like this was made like a little coin for my camp, things like that, where these are all nothing over the top crazy, but cool things, like little things that showed you put some effort into it. For me, I gave away a ton of rings that had batteries in them that lit up really, really bright at night. Because you've got to remember, when it gets dark in Burning Man, it's dark. There's no city lights anywhere. So
Okay.
so everyone's got to be lit up. Otherwise, you're called a dark wad. And if you're a dark wad, that's not a good thing to be. So
Well,
you're either a sparkle pony or a dark wad. Don't be either a sparkle pony or a dark wad. Just be a normal person with that's lit up.
So nobody brings like lights and stuff to
No,
light
you got
up
to
your
bring
tent.
lights. You got to bring lights. You got to bring things on you that light up. People that ride their bikes have their bikes lit up, and it's actually really, really cool. I got some pictures, Jeff. If you I don't know if you had a chance to look through,
Yeah,
but
they're
people
amazing.
take great pride in lighting up pretty much everything they have, just so that people get you can get run over at night if you're not lit up, you can get hurt.
wow.
So there's 117 ways to get hurt at Burning Man. So you do have to be careful. We actually had a death this year, unfortunately. That's not true every year, but we have had a couple deaths. This year, somebody got electrocuted in the rain, which was a bummer. He touched a generator.
Oh,
That
man.
of all the crappy ways to die, this poor kid touched a generator and got electrocuted
At
So,
the Burning Man
at
festival.
Burning Man.
I mean, that's
One last thing I'll say, I know I'm burning a bunch of time here, but the reason it's called Burning Man is because there actually is a man. Some of you guys have seen this when you did the research. It's typically a 60-foot tall edifice of a man, which usually sits on top of a building. And the big culminating event of Burning Man is they actually burn the man. They light it
Yeah.
on fire. And in this, unfortunately for me this year, with the rains, Burning Man, the man burn, as it's called, was delayed. And then it got delayed again. And would you believe it? I had to leave Burning Man without seeing the penultimate moment of Burning Man. I missed the man burn, as did most people at Burning Man, which is a
All
bummer.
right. Well, at
Wow.
least you're okay. At least you're okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay. It's my wife was concerned I was going to get trench foot, but I did not get trench foot. I did take care of my feet. So,
All right.
but anyway, it was a great event. And so seriously, guys, if you are more interested and want to hear more about it for 2024, my camp is always looking for good people. So reach out.
How
Let's
many
talk about
days
it.
is it?
It is typically from Sunday until the burn on Monday, so 8 days.
Wow.
8 days.
8 days.
Yeah, you don't have to stay for 8 days. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
like-
yeah.
yeah. Like I stayed for, I think last time in 2018, I stayed for 6 days.
Where do
five
you
or-
sleep at?
I have a really super fancy tent, Sally, called
okay.
a shift pod, which is like a person who doesn't want to sleep in a regular tent sleeps in a shift pod. It's heat resistant and it's just super nice.
Nice.
But if I were really, really fancy, I would do what the really fancy people do, which is drive an RV and
Got it.
stay in an RV. I haven't risen to that level of aristocracy yet, but I'm thinking about doing that next time, getting an RV.
Oh,
Yeah, cool. Very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
that is pretty cool. So, you know what else is cool? Last week, Jess Paul was here.
Crossing the
And we
street.
talked about the relaxing town, Jules, and you are so not invited to my bat mitzvah, which I think Ron had a complete opposite opinion of that movie
Wait,
than I did.
wait. Who did the review of your so
I
not
did.
invited?
Hang,
Okay.
This week we're going to talk about Untold, that's Sal when Sal's not doing rom-coms. He's covering Untold, Johnny Football, Buckaroo, Bonzai, Across the Eighth Dimension, and this is the wrong one.
This is the wrong one.
This is
Not
the wrong
doing
one.
Narvik.
You know,
I
'cause
already did
I-
Narvik.
No, I know. Hang on.
Yeah,
Hold-
that's-
Technical
hold-
difficulties
So it's
here
not
on
slight
Crossing
It's not
the
that.
Street.
It was I had to update
There
it
we
in the Rocky
go.
Horror
Look at that,
Picture
the Rocky
Show.
Horror. Give yourself over to
I'm deleting
absolute
this.
pleasure.
Wow. The
There you go.
production
Boom.
here is amazing.
Rocky Horror Picture Show. So
Boom,
we got a
that's right.
couple crazy movies for you. Let's kick things off. Let's go with the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
All right. I'm interested to hear about
Let's do that,
this.
Rocky. Horror.
So it's really interesting that I come back talking about Burning Man because as I mentioned, my camp is Videogasm, and there is a relationship here for why I chose Rocky Horror Picture Show, because it is Videogasm's history. They've been doing the Burning Man now for 25 years. This is the 25th anniversary of our camp at Burning Man. And Videogasm is known throughout the Burning Man community for the Friday night of the Burning Man week that we show the Rocky Horror Picture Show and do a full reenactment in front of our giant 3-story screen in front of hundreds and hundreds of people at Burning Man, and it is an absolute riot. It's something that everybody looks forward to. Anytime someone hears about Videogasm, they say, "Hey, you guys are the guys that do the Rocky Horror Show, right?" Absolutely, we're the group that does Rocky Horror. And if you've never been, I just have to say, to a live showing of the Rocky Horror Show at an actual theater, either the movie or the stage production, let me stop you right now and say you should go right now and find out where this is being shown, because it is something that is one of the funniest, most hilarious, positive, and just incredible events that any of us could ever be part of. For those of us who had the benefit of growing up in the late 70s and 80s, I grew up when Rocky Horror was at its apex. Right. And Rocky Horror came out in 1975. The Rocky Horror Picture Show did in 1975. And it was based off of the Rocky Horror Show, which, as I said, was an independently run stage show out of London that had mixed reviews in 1974, but started to gain a following in London, and then came to the United States in 1975 and really started picking up. And it wasn't until 1977, 78 that audiences who had already balked at this stupid movie, and it is a stupid movie, let's be clear about it, started realizing that there was a new way to view this movie, and there was a new lens by which you could actually enjoy the movie, and that is to reenact the musical scenes and to reenact some of the hilarious script, just a terrible script, which audiences figured out that you could respond to. And that's part of I think the treasure of Rocky Horror Picture Show is audiences getting the opportunity to just make fun of it openly and to make fun of themselves and to do it while dressing up and just being silly in front of a million people. And usually these are midnight showings or 11 p.m. showings or late night showings. So it's pretty common that people are drunk or high or probably both or whatever. Not condoning this, mind you, but I'm just saying that it was common for people to show up already, let's just say, ready for a party at this point. If you're not aware of where this is, go Google it. I can tell you right now, Los Angeles, New York, and Toronto are all famously homes for the Rocky Horror Picture Show. You can always find those at those locations. And then here in Detroit, you find them in some of the artsy corners. It was one of the sad things I was sad about when we lost the Royal Oak Theater, the movie theater, because that was one of the places that from time to time would show the Rocky Horror Picture Show. But there are other places downtown and otherwise in Detroit and elsewhere if you're watching this anywhere other than Detroit. So go and check it out. The Rocky Horror Picture Show was directed by Jim Sharman, who I don't know if you guys know who that is, but he's an Australian British director. He's became famous from the Rocky Horror Picture Show. But more important is Richard O'Brien. Richard O'Brien wrote the entire screenplay, wrote all the music for the original Rocky Horror Show, and then adapted it to the screen for the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and stars in the Rocky Horror Picture Show as the guy who does the time warp. I'm blanking on his name, but he's one of the key guys. He's
Tim Curry.
Well, Tim Curry's the star who stars as Dr. Frankenfurter, and he's the sweet transvestite who steals the show with it. And Tim Curry, if you watch some of the YouTube videos of Tim Curry, it's really funny because Tim Curry, along with basically the entire cast, were just blown away by how big this got in the United States. They had no idea, like they thought it was a joke. They had already moved on with their careers because it was such a non-starter, stupid movie. It was a B movie. All of them were unemployed, including Susan Sarandon. They were all unemployed. And they just did it because they needed something to do. They didn't get paid anything for it, and they had moved on with their careers as this thing started picking up steam in the United States. And it was one of those kind of ricochet things where you're like, okay, I guess this is a big deal now. And they came back to reenact it. Tim Curry was famously involved in the stage productions for the Rocky Horror Show in LA and New York. They begged him to come back. Here's something interesting about the movie, the Rocky Horror Picture Show, is that the entire production is a British production. Richard O'Brien is English as well. But in order for this movie to get picked up by the major studios here in the United States, they insisted that the characters of Brad and Janet were American. Susan Sarandon and Barry Bostwick had no involvement with the Rocky Horror Picture Show until the studio demanded American. They weren't going to replace Tim Curry because he was the absolute lead, but the next two characters were Brad and Janet, and they wanted American actors there. So they did cast Barry Bostwick and Susan Sarandon. For Susan Sarandon, this was basically her very first role. Barry Bostwick had been famous. He had done Jesus Christ Superstar, and so he was known, but still not a big name for this. But it's pretty amazing how that went. So they are the only American. It's a little trivia thing, but they're the only two Americans in the whole show. So it's I think
Well,
that's
isn't Meatloaf? Is he not American?
Yeah, Meatloaf is American, but I'm saying of the main characters I'm talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a bunch of side characters, but if you guys have seen the show, they throw a bunch of stuff at it. There's a lot of different things that kind of hit the screen. But yeah, Meatloaf is American as well. You're right. So what can I say? It's a ridiculous show. It was the entire thing was shot in the UK. Here's an interesting thing: the castle at the very beginning, over at the Frankenstein place, is the famous song that Susan Sarandon sings. The castle is actually a famous hotel in Windsor called Oakley Court, which is actually well known because Queen Elizabeth and a lot of royalty had stayed and continue to stay at Oakley Court. And if you look up Oakley Court, you're like, oh my gosh, that's the castle from Rocky Horror. But if you notice, they don't talk about Rocky Horror on any of the website, or they want nothing to do with Rocky Horror. They don't want people to remember that that it's actually a royal place to stay. So I thought that was actually funny, Oakley Court. But
That's really
no,
funny.
yeah, listen, it's a great film for the reason it's great. It's great in the sense that it's fun, it's audience participation. It's the ultimate movie that doesn't take itself seriously, and for that reason, it succeeds for the same reasons as like a Sharknado or some of the others that just make fun of itself from the opening scene. And I don't know, I can only speak for myself, but I love shows like that. Like if it can work when you make fun of yourself right off the bat, as long as you have things to hang your hat on, whether it be music or good acting or maybe a couple famous people or whatever it might be, as long as you don't take yourself seriously, these things can work. And I think Rocky Horror Picture Show is the perfect example of that. I love that it's still going on, 50 years almost. After its original introduction to American audiences, and I don't see this thing ever stopping. I think this was part of the, part of the language of movies here in the United States, and I think it will never go away, which I'm really proud of.
So while you were talking, I Googled, and actually in 1 month at the Fisher Theater, Barry Bostwick is there for one screening. It seems sold out. Otherwise, I would have bought 2 tickets for us right now.
Amazing! It's already sold out, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you guys want a really fun time on YouTube, I can share this with you guys. There's the 35th. I think it's 35th anniversary of the Rocky Horror Show, and they have the whole thing free on YouTube. And Richard O'Brien shows up at the play, and it's he gets a roaring 10-minute standing ovation from this crowd in the West End of London, and it's a really cool moment. And I have to say, as great as the movie is, I actually think the play is actually every bit as funny, maybe funnier than the movie, because it's so audience participation, and
The play
that's all
itself
it is.
is supposed to be. If you want to listen to my podcast episode with Joel Thurm, he was the casting director for the Rocky Horror Picture Show. So he tells the whole story how they got Barry Bostwick and how they convinced Susan Sarandon to do it.
Yeah.
And we talk about Meatloaf and the London.
Yeah.
Just to give you an idea how popular this is, that same show that I just mentioned that's a month from now with Barry Bostwick, the mezzanine seats, or in front of the stage, I think that's the mezzanine, or the main section from A to Z. Okay. Z is $500. So those are going for $500. You have to get into the balcony to get it for $78. So if you want to go sit in the balcony, I'll go with you. I would get in.
Listen, I would absolutely talk about that. I'll just say one last thing is that if you see some of these, where it is still playing, Toronto, LA, and New York, young audiences are going to this. It's not just old people like me. So it is transgenerational. It absolutely is going to continue going because people see it for what it is. It's just pure fun, and people, young and old, love to be, have fun and to laugh. And I think that's the magic of it. So that's cool, Jeff. Yeah, that's cool. I had no idea they were coming to the Fisher. That's actually fantastic.
Great, man.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. We got a kind of odd movie sandwich going on today. So to make that sandwich, we're going to put Untold Johnny Football in between before we get to the last one.
Well, this one actually should be called the Rocky Horror Picture Show as well for this guy's career. But I'm doing a sports one. This is the Netflix series Untold. That if you go back in Crossing the Streams history episodes, I've done a few of these. They're very good. Most of them are on athletic endeavors, and this one is about a football player named Johnny Manziel. This is around 2012 is when he kind of came out of the woodwork. He's a kind of a party animal kind of football player that made it really big. And again, like the Untold has done with the other ones, it's very good documentary, a lot of footage. good editing on these, kind of starting from the beginning, where if it's a biography, they tell about the person when they were young. And this guy grew up in Texas and had good parents. I think his father was in the military, history of the military back in the day. But he had a good upbringing, and high school football in Texas is huge. I mean, it's like so big. Like Friday night, no matter who's playing, what town you're in, if there's a high school Texas football game going on, it's happening. So he grew up in that era and that kind of that environment, and he wanted to be a football player, and he was good when he was young. And when he got to high school, he he kind of bounced around. His he was kind of like a little firecracker back then too, kind of getting in trouble already and starting to drink and smoke and all that. And his father thought it would be good if he went to like a military style high school, and that's what he did. And it probably helped him on his foot on the football field, but it still didn't help him in the party atmospheres. He still did that, but he excelled right away. I mean, they actually have footage of his very first play from scrimmage. It's
Oh, wow.
hysterical. They're he's at the 20-yard line or whatever, starting his high school career, and the coach calls for a when the quarterback kind of goes back like he's going to go past, but it's like a draw and he just goes up the middle. Well, he does this on the very first play, goes up the middle for like 80 yards and scores a touchdown, but they threw a flag like while he was running or whatever. They threw a flag or it was a false start or something like that. So they backed him up 10 yards. Now it's his second high school play ever. And he gets the call from the coach on the sidelines, and it's the same play. And they even show it on the clip where he's kind of looking like he looks at his arm and like, oh my God, they just called the same play. Like he thought that was so stupid for them to call the same play, or the coach. But he did. He goes up the middle for 90 yards on his second play, which the first one was called back. So that's kind of how this guy's been kind of fortunate in his career. And that started his high school career. And he just excelled for 4 years, 4 years at the high school level. And but he had some issues. He had some off the field issues in high school. And these scouts, they look at that kind of stuff, and where he wanted to go to the University of Texas. And Texas didn't even recruit him. They sent him like a letter. He did get recruited a lot by a lot of schools, and he ended up choosing Texas A&M, which people were kind of stunned, because back then Texas A&M really didn't have that good of a football program. Their facility was less than any of the other Big 12 schools at the time. Now they're in the SEC, so he actually was part of making that happen. But anyway, he went to Texas A&M, and he's a freshman going in, and he's a starter. And everybody's like, who's this kid, across the league and the country? It's Johnny Manziel starting for Texas A&M. And they lose their very first game. He loses the very first game. He plays okay. He doesn't play that great, but they lose the game. And he has a meeting with the coach before the second game, and the coach was like, go play like you did in high school, just throw it around, run around. And that's what this guy was. He's almost like Brett Favre was his idol. So he just kind of runs it around and just scrambles and gets yardage and throws it downfield when he's scrambling. And he wins his next two games. Now he's 2-1. This is his freshman year. Now he's got to go to Alabama. Everything he did in high school, everything he's done in the first three games means nothing. Now he's going to Alabama. The whole country's watching. They're 25-point underdogs or whatever. Alabama, this was back in the day when they were winning titles like crazy. Nick Saban and that crew. And he goes down there and he beats them. He goes into Alabama and beats them. And it literally puts this guy on a pedestal. Now they're talking about Heisman. Now they're talking about this sensational kid. He becomes more popular than ever in his state, and obviously now leaking across the country. He was a big Texas high school football player, always popular back in the day. But now he's on a national level, Sports Illustrated and all this kind of stuff. And back then, well, even it's just starting now, college kids like at that level, they don't get paid. They don't get paid nothing. The only thing he got was a scholarship, books, lodging or whatever at the school, but no money. And this guy was bringing in, the sales for their Texas A&M stands were going out of whack. I mean, this guy was bringing in money for the university, like the TV rights and putting them on TV. And so his high school buddy that they show kind of from the beginning, he kind of becomes his manager on signing some autographs and making some money on the side. So they start doing that, and it's all legal, and they kind of they touch on it a little bit in the documentary and how he pulled it off. It was just amazing. But he was making money doing that. And he was so popular, they were just flying around doing signings and stuff. And this kid was managing it all, and it's just a little. Some of it was a little shady, but and all the while, everything I've just told you, they would always show him partying at night and partying when after a big football game, whether it was high school or college. I mean, he did a lot of that. Instagram was kind of becoming famous, and he was doing posts on there, and getting the backup punter to take urine tests for him so they wouldn't detect his marijuana and stuff like that. I mean, this guy was a party animal, but doing it on the field. And anyway, has a magical season his freshman year. They end up not winning at all or anything. They end up going to a pretty big bowl game. But this kid wins the Heisman as a freshman. And it was just amazing. Just an amazing run, an amazing season. And all the while, just kind of partying and stuff and just does it. And, made his mom and dad proud. They were there. They showed the Heisman, trophy presentation. And anyway, then he moves on to the pros, and now his partying ways has kind of leaked into the NFL, and so he's not really sure where he's going to get drafted. They show a lot of that document, a lot of that footage, and he wanted to go to the Cowboys, and they didn't take him, and then because he was a problem kid, and then he ends up going to the Cleveland Browns. The freaking lowly Cleveland Browns take this absolutely train wreck of a football player that could be great, but he also could be obviously a train wreck. So he goes into Cleveland, and he just didn't go well for him. I mean, it just at that level, it just gets to where they even this actually moment of this documentary went viral on the internet. He actually said he never even looked at a playbook for the Cleveland Browns, never even studied one. Never even looked at one, nothing. And that little clip went viral on the internet. They couldn't believe that, the Cleveland Browns must have 30 coaches on their staff. How can you not have a coach that's overlooking this kid to make sure he's reading this playbook and knows his playbook? So really, really strange things going on with that organization. Maybe that's why they're one of the worst in the league. But so just a horrible first year in Cleveland, and basically starts partying again, and that just all comes down on him, crashing on him, and he was caught like the Saturday before they were playing at Cleveland. On Saturday morning, he decides to fly to Vegas to party with his buddies, and then fly back Sunday morning just in time for the game. I mean, just doing stuff like that gets wind because it was on Instagram and all that stuff. So just an absolute horrible NFL career, and now he's just kind of just out there. I mean, he made his money. He's got enough money to live on. Hopefully, he didn't blow it all, but he's been known to do cocaine and do all that. So who knows? But as far as the documentary goes, I thought it was horrible because there was a couple things. No, it really was, because there was a couple things that he says in the documentary that you're like, okay, spend more time with that. I mean, he actually said in one of the interviews that he felt like killing himself and that he was taking drugs and he was just waiting. He had bought a gun and he was just waiting for the moment to do it. That's all. And that's all they showed him say about. They never asked another follow-up question to that. They never maybe delved into maybe mental health or something like that. I don't know. They just kind of went over that. It was just like it was like something he just said and they never went back to it. So that was kind of weird. And so I just didn't like it overall. Too many pictures and footage of him partying, and maybe I would have liked to see more of his high school football days, or maybe his family, his good family moments with his mom and dad and stuff like that. But just showing the partying all the time, every picture, the first picture in the documentary is him drinking. The last picture is him smoking a bowl on a bong. It's like that's all they showed on this was his partying, and I just think they should have done maybe went the other way with it and showed maybe his softer side of him, because maybe deep down he is a really good kid. It just that this documentary didn't show it. So I give it 1 tomato sauce jar. I don't recommend you watching this. It's just just go to his Instagram page and follow his Instagram for the last couple of years. It'll be the same thing.
That's not very many tomato sauce jars, Sally.
That's his
No,
one.
no.
That's his one right there.
It's just-
That's his first one. I don't even.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, not good. Not good for a
Our,
documentary. I
our,
didn't
our
like
negative reviews, I think, are rubbing off on Sally. I think he's
it.
You
he's
didn't
got
even
like
know. You didn't
license.
even know it was negative to the very end. It was like the big twist at the end.
So Sal, I have to ask: does he come off as likable to the everyday
There's
person?
there's moments he does. There really is. I mean, he again that just he kind of it is some of his scenes where he's talking and stuff. You can tell the guy he's a good kid. He's just a great athlete that maybe
Yeah,
almost like one of these teen actors that make like these Macaulay Culkins and stuff that make it so big early on. And
Yeah.
some of them come out good and some of them don't. Obviously,
Yeah.
I probably used a bad example. Was Macaulay Culkin? I think he's doing okay, but
It's
it's like that.
It's his brother, but
his brother's doing okay.
I guess
yeah.
Macaulay's doing okay, but just
Yeah,
I don't know if he's
Macaulay's
as
doing okay,
famous,
but
but
okay.
Macaulay.
But
brother.
anyway, so he made it big so early on, winning the Heisman his freshman year,
Yeah.
just being treated like literally like Elvis Presley in Texas for 4 years in high school, and then winning the Heisman his freshman year. I think it overwhelmed him. He left after a second year for the pros. I mean, he could have stayed another 2 years and developed more and maybe taken the game more seriously. I think he could have had a longer career. I think he blew it there by not giving a crap in Cleveland. So. Yeah, so we'll see. I don't know what he's doing now. He's just kind of hanging out. He's got money in the bank. He's probably only 30 years old. He's not that old, so maybe get into coaching.
I mean, doesn't it seem like there's some teams that could probably use him? I mean, the
Well,
Jets
that's what they're
Jets
saying
have
about the
nobody at this
Jets.
point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're actually saying about Colin Kaepernick. They said, "Hey, why not give
Yeah.
that guy kid a shot? If he's still in shape. I don't know what the deal is, but if you want to, because every team doesn't have two great quarterbacks, so there's no quarterbacks out there. I mean, you got to hope one is like a UPS driver right now, and he's willing to come, out of retirement from UPS. And no, seriously, that happens all the time. You'll hear a team picking up somebody, and he was having a normal job, and then all of a sudden he's on he's on the Jets, freaking slinging footballs.
Yeah,
it's crazy how that happens.
That happened to Rocky Balboa. He got a chance to fight for the title. He was out shaking down
exactly like Rocky Balboa.
Rocky.
All right, let's finish this up with another classic movie, The Adventures of Buckaroo Bonzai Across the Eighth Dimension. Have either of you seen this movie?
I have seen parts of it. I have.
All right, let me just say it is free on Tubi. You can watch it for free on
Which
Tubi. Tubi is so I normally would not have watched The Adventures of Buckaroo Bonzai Across the Eighth Dimension, but recently on my show I interviewed a comedian named Glenn Tickle, and he is obsessed with this movie. And I will just say on the 15th, he has a comedy special coming out on YouTube called, get this, Glenn Tickle Against the World Crime League, which the reason he named it that is because when he did his second special, as a joke at the end, he said, coming soon, Glenn Tickle against the World Crime League, which is how Buckaroo Bonzai ends. Like where they go,
okay,
more coming soon, Buckaroo Bonzai against the World Crime League. So anyway, Buckaroo Bonzai, let me just list off the cast of this movie that neither of you have seen, okay? Listen to this cast. Peter Weller, we know, right? Okay. John Lithgow, Ellen Barkin, Jeff Goldblum, Christopher Lloyd, Clancy Brown, if that name doesn't sound familiar, he's the guy from, he's in Shawshank. You would know him the second you saw him. Vincent Schiavarelli was a very famous character actor. Jonathan Banks, you'd know him as Mike from Breaking Bad. A not in the movie, but filmed a scene that was cut was Jamie Lee Curtis. Okay. So this is, I mean, think about that cast.
What is this, Cannonball Run?
That's a good cast. Come on, that's a good cast. Those are really good actors. And so The Adventures of Buckaroo Bonzai is its rating on just to give you an idea, is Rotten Tomatoes was 64% and 69%. So, like Rocky Horror Picture Show, it's not a great movie. However, like Rocky Horror Picture Show, it has developed a cult following
Yeah.
over the
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
I watched this movie, and at first, because I wanted to be able to talk to Glenn about it, and I was about 20 minutes in, and I'm like, how am I going to make it to an hour and 40 minutes? And it was just like, but then I realized the charm of the movie is, if you can picture this, picture your friends came to you and said, we made a movie and we'd like you to watch the movie we made in our backyard. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but there are scenes where it's like they go, grab those life preservers. And they're wearing life preservers and they're like, these will protect us against the eighth dimension. You know what I mean? Like we played when we were kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, wrap it in tinfoil. It'll protect us from the evil rays of whatever. You know what I mean? Like, that's the vibe of this movie, the whole movie. I mean, Jeff Goldblum is dressed in this cowboy outfit. They're like, grab the craziest outfit you have in your closet. And he's just wearing this all red cowboy outfit, bandana, hat. I mean, okay, so this movie, Peter Weller is Buckaroo Bonzai. And I'm going to just read it because I can't do it any better than what was actually written down. He's a brain surgeon, rock musician, adventurer, modern Renaissance man, and he is about to make scientific history. He is going to travel through solid matter, which he does in the very beginning, and he enters the eighth dimension. But his enemy, Dr. Emilio Lizardo, who's John Lithgow, wants to steal it from him because maybe he's not the enemy. I don't know. It's very confusing. The plot's confusing. The characters are confusing. But anyway, let's pretend that is. So anyway, they're trying. It's hard for me to even explain it. But the aliens from the eighth dimension are trying to steal this device, and Buckaroo Banzai with his crime-fighting team, the Hong Kong Cavaliers, right? And along the way, he bumps into Ellen Barkin, and Ellen Barkin happens to be the unknown twin sister of his dead wife. I mean, it's like, well, later you find out it's like a scientific doctor. It's like I said, it's one of those scripts where they're like, oh, just make her now reveal this because that'll just help the plot. And so it's just basically these aliens trying to steal this thing. It's really insane. But Buckaroo Banzai is like he's a physicist, neurosurgeon, test pilot, and rock star. Like, that's his character. Like, he has an open line with the president of the United States. I mean, picture everything I'm saying where we're like filming this. We're filming this in our basement, and but we've got a budget. It actually cost $17 million to make and only made $6.3 million. So when I joked earlier about the name of the sequel at the end, they assumed this was going to be huge.
Wow.
They were calling the sequel at the end because they thought this was going to be a big deal.
Wow.
They wanted Tom Hanks or Michael Keaton in the role of Buckaroo Banzai, but apparently that did not work out. If you watch this for free and are really enamored by it, there's 14 deleted scenes on the special edition DVD. There has been a spin-off or a sequel book with the Crime League that they made. And they have tried to reboot this, but believe it or not, it's caught up in some legal battles.
But so it's not experiencing kind of its resurgence the same way that Rocky Horror did. It hasn't.
I'm not saying it's resurgence. I'm saying one person I know liked the movie, so I watched it.
Got it.
I'm not calling this a resurgence.
It's
I'm
not a
calling
resurgence.
it. I happen to talk to someone who was very, very, very into it. So I'm like, I'll check it out because it was one of those movies that I I've always been aware of, but never ever saw.
So Jeff, I have seen. I'm not going to go so far as to say most of it, but I'll just say I've seen much of it, and it's at least from my perspective. Granted, different strokes for different folks. It's unwatchable. That's how bad it is.
Well, that is why I said if you put it in the lens that you're watching something that your pals made,
Yeah,
then it becomes more watchable.
Palatable.
yeah.
Because
that's fair. That's fair.
you have to kind of put it, you have to frame it right. So yeah, but it's they're shooting for the moon on this with very
Shooting
little
for
budget.
the moon, Alice.
But the fact that they have all these big names in it is hilarious
Yeah, that's funny.
in itself. So, but in the end, they stop these aliens from conquering Earth. So, it's a happy ending. So.
How do you? So let me ask you this: You're in show business more than me. You too, Sally.
Show business,
it's like, how do you account for all these big names signing on to just this dog shit project like this? Like at least with Rocky Horror, they were all nobodies. They were all unemployed. How do you account for big name people signing on to this?
I'm sure they got paid something.
I don't know. I think it could be like, sometimes just good things that seem okay on paper, maybe, just don't work
Like
out.
I can chime in here because I've done a movie when I did when I was alongside Eric Roberts in the movie Intent, which never came out, but anyway, I filmed it, and I got to spend a whole day with Eric Roberts because I did all my scenes with him all in one day. And then we had a couple of different locations. So I got to have lunch with him and stuff like that. And anyway, I just small talk with him. And then I was like, oh, wow, you're doing a movie in Detroit. That's really cool. And he goes, oh, yeah, I've always wanted to do a movie in Detroit. And blah, blah. He's telling me all this great stuff of why he wanted to come to Detroit. He walks away. And like one of the producers or whatever, he goes, yeah. He goes, yeah, right. It just fit into his schedule. It was perfect because he was doing I don't know if he was doing Batman or whatever. Then he goes, but he had finished Batman and he had to do this other movie in 2 months. He had 2 months to kill, so he did this at a lower rate. And this guy's telling me this, and I'm like, wow, that's cool, cool information. So I think some of them it's like me taking a gig. Like you got an off night, I'll do a gig. Well, they're doing movies like that,
Yeah.
Right, Jeff? I mean, Jeff knows it.
Yeah, well, John Lithgow, like, for example, this was like he did 100 movies since, but this was kind of earlier in his career, in his first 15 movies. World According to Garp came out in 82. This was 85. He did Terms of Endearment. But, the way in 83, Footloose in 84. But, but the way IMDb, when a movie comes out, they could have filmed it a year or two earlier.
Correct.
So, sometimes, getting people on, or they'll hear, oh, Jeff Goldblum's doing it, I'll do it. Or
Correct,
Ellen Barkin's doing it, I'll do it. Like, I talked to Ronnie Cox, and he was in the horrible Captain America movie, but he's like, on paper, this movie was great. And the director just didn't know how to do it. So, there's that too, you know what I mean? So
sure.
But I mean, some of it's just, I think, sometimes you get lucky.
Well, you're right, Jeff. That's different because that was in the early '80s. Like you said, Lithgow was not a big star. He probably wouldn't do that movie today, right? He wouldn't take a movie that he doesn't really know, the writer.
Well,
or
who
the
knows?
director.
I can't speak for Mr. Lithgow. I do know that he's trending on Twitter now and will paint your dog for $2,400. So there's an off chance he might have starred again in Buckaroo Bonzai. It's funny, like Michael Caine is always asked about Jaws 4, which is considered like the worst movie ever. And his quote is, "No, I've never seen it, but I have seen the house that I bought my mother."
Oh, that's a good quote. I like that one.
And so, I mean, these people got to work.
It's a pay. Look at De Niro, man. De Niro. What's that? Did you ever hear that joke about De Niro's agent or whatever? De Niro's agent takes the call. He'll do it. He doesn't even hear what it's about. Hello? He'll do it.
Yeah.
That's funny. All right.
Oh, it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, Tubi. So the fact that it's on Tubi, I have to admit, I've never watched anything on Tubi. I'm aware of it, but
Yeah.
you have to really dig for this one.
Yeah, it's on. I think it's on Tubi and it's on Pluto.
Pluto,
You can watch
right?
either
That's
one
the
of
other one.
those for free.
That's the other
They,
one.
they just have commercials. They'll interrupt with commercials. But
So, real quick before we sign off, do either of you guys have either of you downloaded BritBox?
No.
is that the British thing?
Yeah,
I think we've talked about it in the show, but I think Mike White and Brian Green might have it.
you know, it's interesting. It's a whole world unto itself, a whole ecosystem of nothing but British shows. So I'll have to. I'm just starting to dig into it right now, but I'll report back on another show because there's some really interesting shows on there that I've never even heard of before.
Cool,
Wow.
cool. And then you absolutely hated the Bat Mitzvah movie.
Hated.
I didn't
Like-
hate it.
Like me and Denise, my wife, we looked at each other like, "Is this like?" We were like maybe 25 minutes into it. We were like, "Is this as bad as I think this is?" And she's like, "It's worse. Like this is the worst thing I've ever seen."
I don't think it was. See, I can get that you didn't like it. I don't think it was the worst thing. I mean, like, this is one of his highest rated movies.
I
mean,
so-
as a coming of age movie, it was just a cute,
Yeah.
basic.
Well, Amelia, my
straight-
15-year-old, yelled at me when I was complaining about it. She's like, "It's not for you, idiot. It's for teens and for young kids. It's not for you. Like, what are you
Right.
doing?" And then, of course, she said, "I should be on Crossing the Streams." So, anyway.
We said she could come.
Yeah.
I'm happy to have her.
I
on.
know.
As
I
long
know.
as you.
She's mentioned it now.
So
a few times.
awesome.
So, good
All
show,
right,
guys.
Sal,
Good
say
show, you
goodnight.
guys. Good to see
Great
you
show.
guys.
Great show. Best show
Thanks for
ever.
listening in. Go ahead, Jeff. You do the off stage.
No, go ahead. I would just tell everyone where you're going to be or whatever.
Sal and Bob at Genetti's, September 28th. Still a few tickets available, or just go to saldemiller.com.
Awesome. And Ron, where will
Yeah,
you be
back in the
next?
heading to Dallas on Sunday for a whole week this time. So say hi to our friends in Dallas and our friends at Delta Airlines.
Cowboys look good this year, man.
All right. I'm Jeff Dwoskin. Check me out on Classic Conversations. All right. Oh, bye, everyone.
See
And
you
that
guys.
has been another episode of Crossing the Streams. Join us every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, live on Facebook and YouTube. Follow the Jeff Dwoskin Show on YouTube to be alerted every time we go live with your hosts, Jeff Dwoskin, Ron Lippett, Howard Rosner, Bob Phillips, Sal D'Amelio. We're all in the socials. Follow us, listen to our podcasts, Classic Conversations, and the Sal and Bob Show. Check them all out, and we'll see you next week and every week when we cross more streams right here. See you then.